if you're talking about the standard time frame of what customers expect or a certain time frame of what vendors generally do. I mean, from the customer's perspective, people want things yesterday, right? So when they are coming to you and asking for a few pieces of something or a particular order, they wanted it done the very next day or the same day. I've had customers that have told me that sometimes the customer's expectation is unrealistic. But again, it's just about communicating the right expectations. I think in general, it really depends on a general rule of thumb, right? It's that the turnaround time really depends on the complexity of the pieces you are looking to do and the number of pieces in terms of volume the customer is looking to get embroidered. And over time, you will start to become more familiar with how long it generally takes to do something so that you can be confident in quoting a time for your customer, knowing that this is something that's going to be realistic. And if their expectation is not realistic, it's up to you to communicate that to them and make sure that they understand what is a realistic time frame to get those particular items done. So it comes with some experience, and it's really the level of capacity that you have, right? Both in terms of the number of machines you have, the number of heads you have, and what kind of garments and types of embroidery are you comfortable doing with, and how well versed or familiar are you with those techniques to be able to gauge how long it will take you to do them, and therefore set a turnaround time that's going to be standard for your business.
Yes, it is. So mostly, like I said, my business has mostly come from marketing and word of mouth, just through talking to people. Although I do have to say I'm kind of excited because one of my embroidery items is actually on display at the Swedish Embassy right now. So,
oh, nice. Okay.
And I did that on my EM1010, which I am so excited about it. Just to throw that in.
Awesome. So how did you get in touch with the Swedish Embassy to get that done?
So the company that I work for in my day job actually, they found out that I had the embroidery machine and they asked me if I would mind embroidering a Swedish flag on the pouch that was going on one of their wheelchairs.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of awesome, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and one of the things that I would you touched upon it, right? The first thing to do when starting out in this business is probably to find people in your network that can help get you started, right? And then that kind of word of mouth is going to spread. You have to build up some kind of track record so that people can see the work that you do and then start getting more business. And also you want to be able to pace yourself so that you're not overwhelmed with orders when you haven't really mastered the craft yet, and then you're kind of working backwards to try to increase the quality of the work you provide or do certain things that you haven't had experience with, and that might cause you to lose some customers. So that's something to keep in mind also.
Yeah, and that is something that I am concerned with, definitely. And how do you make sure that you are providing the highest quality that you can to those individuals? I mean, obviously, you have to make sure that you're positioning it correctly and you're making sure that you get it out in a good period of time. But how can you regulate that, I guess?
Sure. So one of the biggest things is setting expectations, right? So I don't know what kind of policy you have in place currently with your customers as to how long is your turnaround time or what kind of guarantees you have. But essentially, it breaks down into two things. One is the quality, and then two is the turnaround time. Those two things add up to kind of the overall customer experience in this industry, right? If they're getting a good quality product from you and they're getting it on time, they're generally going to be happy. They're not going to have too much complaints. So the key thing here, again, is setting expectations to not overpromise and underdeliver, but instead, underpromise and overdeliver, right? So one of the things that you want to make sure is if you don't already have some sort of contract in place or agreement in place with all of your customers, you might want to consider doing something like that, or at least setting some policies in place and procedures as to what to expect from you when they order from you, right? If it's not a rush order, how many days do you promise to ship it out by? And if it is a rush order, what kind of fees or charges are you going to charge? And when can you ship out a rush order by? And then the level of quality obviously has to speak for itself when that goes back to you having to master the craft and know what to do in certain situations with different garments, and to make sure that you are proud of the work that you are sending out to your customers. If you're not even going to be satisfied with it, I wouldn't recommend sending it out to customers that are actually paying for it.
That makes sense.
So yeah, it's all about just setting expectations. So there's no kind of cookie cutter approach to making sure that a certain rule is in place, because everybody's situation is different. But I would generally recommend that you have some sort of policy in place so that you can communicate to your customers on what to expect.
Yeah, that makes sense. In time period and whatnot too. I'm sure. The time that it's available.
Are you doing this on a? It sounds like you're doing this on a part-time basis, correct? You said you have a full-time job in the day.
I'm doing. Yes, so I am doing it on the side.
Okay.
Currently, just trying to build it up.
Okay.
As I build it up, so it does. My time frame is probably going to be a little bit longer if I get overwhelmed with orders, I guess.
Right. Right. So one thing you wanna be mindful of is that because you are doing this on the side, you have to build those expectations into place. Knowing that you are doing this only part time, when orders do come in, how you prioritize those orders and generally what time you have to dedicate to those orders is something that you want to be very mindful of. But again, it's just about if you let your customers know that you should expect a certain time frame, just do your very best to stick to that, so that you can even promise a certain time frame, but at the same time have it done faster than that, so that it can come as a surprise to your customers that you're actually getting it done faster.